when ChatGPT first came out, I was kind of very skeptical, and I told everyone, I've tried it. The code that it produces is terrible, and I did try it. I tried, throwing some things in there like a Google prompt, and I got pretty bad code out, and I ended up giving up on it. But about 6 months to a year went by, and I ran into a project that I wasn't familiar with. So I turned to ChatGPT again, and this time in humility, I started learning the science of breaking down the code. And that's what I'm going to teach you today. How do you break down your prompts so that you get to the level of good code? ChatGPT writes terrible code when you're not specific. But if you are specific and you know how to be specific, you'll get good code. Let's start by looking at what doesn't work, and then we'll go into what does work. So there's this kind of hope that ChatGPT is smart enough to know what I'm thinking. And I'm going to put in what I thought at first was a good prompt. Make me a story point poker app in Next.js. Don't give me instructions for deployment yet. So some things that I did good. I said, don't give me instructions for deployment. What that does is ChatGPT tends to give you the same size of output for most responses. If it's involved, it's going to be a similar size output. If it gives me deployment instructions, it's going to choose to leave out a lot of other instructions in order to fit everything in that size of output. So I'm trying to get it focused in. So that's why I added this. And then I said, make me a story point poker app. Now, probably it does know about that. That's a very well-defined kind of app. If you haven't done that with Scrum, you should. It's really fun. And then I said Next.js, so I'm specifying what framework I want. Now, what happened was this sort of worked, but the results that I got back were for the old version of Next.js. And that's very common with ChatGPT, other LLMs, because of their knowledge date cutoff. They'll tend to be weighted, even if the new kind of format made it into that knowledge date cutoff. You still have a problem with all the documentation is old, and that documentation will weight the output. So you tend to get old output. So I needed to make some changes to that. So then I went ahead and I said, all right, so let me add this concept. I'm going to say use the app router, not pages router. So watch what I did here. So then I just added this one, use the app router, not pages router. That was a help, but I still got an app that failed due to the TypeScript build. All right, so then I went, okay, so I added this sentence, use TypeScript. And I generated this, and the first time it actually worked perfectly. And then I did it a second time to test, and it didn't work. It went way more complicated and took a different direction. This is another thing that will happen where sometimes it gets it right, but you might use the exact same prompt and it messes it up the next time. Now, the more specific you get, the less chance it can mess up. The more decisions it's making for you, it's going to roll the dice, and sometimes it chooses one path that's correct, and sometimes it doesn't. So this still wasn't good enough. So then this is my final prompt. And now look how specific this is. I'm taking away a lot of the decision making. So I said, make me a story point poker app in Next.js. Okay, same there. Give me instructions for setting up the app via command line and the code to get it working, but no instructions for deployment yet. Basically what we had, I'm just being really specific. Sometimes it would tell me the command line instructions. My goal is that I can fully copy and paste this app without having to tweak anything or fix anything and just get it working. Now, features of the app. This ended up being necessary because sometimes it would give me a perfect story point poker app, and sometimes it would like not require Fibonacci numbers, something that I really want. I didn't actually say Fibonacci numbers, but I'm hoping that it gets that it should be only buttons. All right, so I put in a couple simple features, and then I added some technical notes, because what it's going to do is it's going to have you use the Next CLI tool, and it's going to ask you a bunch of questions about TypeScript, npm, source directory, do you want to use ESLint? And I want as much of this taken care of for me as possible. So this is a great prompt template that you can just steal from this video. I'll actually put it below in the description, and go ahead and use it for your apps. If you're making quick, simple apps, just take this whole thing and then change the pieces that you need. All right, so here we go. Now it's telling us, open your terminal, navigate to the directory, okay, and run the following commands. Okay, this is looking really good so far. Remove unnecessary files to clean up the project. So it's planning on not using some of these apparently. Create the required directory structure. Okay. And then it's going to walk us through how to set up the next config. Create the home component. Looks good. Global CSS, and then an update, and then running the app. So we're going to see, can we just go ahead and copy piece by piece here and find our way through this without running into any problems? So we're going to go into our terminal first. So the way that I do that typically is I get started in Visual Studio Code. You can use a different terminal, but I think this is a really easy way to do it. I go into the place where I keep all my dev work for content creation, and so that's MTJ content, and I'm going to paste this first one. So we're going to create this new app called latest, it's using the latest version, and it's Story Point Poker. All right, so it says, do you want to use ESLint? I was kind of hoping that my prompt would take care of this, but I'm going to say, no, I don't. Definitely want Tailwind. Why wouldn't you? Yes, I want source directory. I said I want that in the prompt. Yes, I want app router. Do you want TurboPack? No. And do you want to, we'll use the default. So this is one of those areas you might do something here that ChatGPT wasn't expecting and get a different result. So that's why I tried to specify as much of that in the prompt itself. All right, so that is created. So we'll come back here and see our next instructions. Now navigate to the project directory. So you can do that directly. What I like to do here is at this point, I like to open the folder. So I will do, you can do a Command O if you're in Mac. I think it's Control O in Windows. And then I have it up here on recent because I've been playing around with this. So you're going to open that folder that you just created. And then it's also a good thing to open the terminal and do a new terminal. You can do Command J if you're in Mac. And now we're going to go back here to our instructions. So we're going to do npm install. And you notice that it opened directly there for me because I'm in, I have the folder open. All right, so that was fast because I've already done this on this computer before. Now, I really don't think this is necessary. I'm not sure why it's making me do this. You could probably ignore these here. But we'll just copy these one at a time. I don't think it'll hurt anything. And then, sorry, I'll do this one. All right, so now we're creating this, it's created app and components. All right, so that's a good breakdown of structure. And now we're going to start. So we'll do the next config.js to use the app router. That should already be the case because we told it to do that in the CLI tool there. It's got us in React strict mode is really the only thing that's different here. And it's already using TypeScript. I feel like this piece right here is not really necessary, but we'll go ahead and copy it. Okay, save that. All right, and then the source app page component, do source app page, delete everything, and copy. Okay, so far no red, that's always good. All right, now we'll come down to the next one. We'll update the global styles. So that's here. And then finally, we'll do this source app layout. Boom. Okay, and now we'll do npm run dev. So it built correctly. Let's see if the magic happened. And we have an error. Okay, so it did not get it correct. And that's a little disappointing. Now, in this case, you have to mark the file as use client, and this is app page. Let's see. So this is just a little mistake from it. ChatGPT should have known to break this into a separate client and put it into components, and it didn't do it. So I'm going to show you kind of the way that I would walk through this. So I'm just going to copy the source of the location in the first part of the error, and I'm going to put it right here into the prompt, and it's already got the context of everything. And so now it's going to say, oh, hey, by the way, this actually might work, but it's not what you want to do. This is a bad instruction from ChatGPT because you want this to be in a component instead of you don't want your entire page to be a client. Okay, so that's just, unfortunately, that's totally wrong advice. Please break the functionality into a component instead of making the entire page use client. All right, so now it's going to redo this and it's going to move it to voting section. All right, so I'm going to copy that source app page. Okay, and I just got to create this voting section component. So we'll do, finally, we're down here in components and it's called voting section. .tsx. All right, we'll copy this code, put it in here, save that, go back to page, and then save this. Okay, and then let's see if it compiles correctly now. Boom, okay. So now we have story point poker. Let's put my name. I'll just choose an 8, all right. And then your name, and you think it's harder, boom, 13. This is just running locally, and the next steps would be to get something kind of like WebSockets going where multiple people could enter a story point. We can see those votes update, and then ultimately to deploy this. So I'll make some follow-up videos to show you exactly how you get this out of ChatGPT. In summary, our biggest problem here is that ChatGPT sometimes is not able to logically reason through everything in code, but it gets very close. So my suggestion is work with a framework that you kind of know about, or at least one that you're willing to learn about. When you run into a problem, like we did here, you're going to just grab the error and paste it in, and then see what it does. In this case, like in my case, I knew that using client is not good at a page level. That kind of removes all of what NextJS is doing. This would have got the app working, which would have been a minor success, but I knew that that's not what I wanted. So I kept just being more specific. The goal is always to get more specific. So I said, hey, break the functionality into a component. And then we finally got what we wanted. All right, so hopefully that was helpful. In the next video, we'll talk about taking this another step forward and getting this to actually fully deploy in the next series of videos. And you can see that if you can learn to interact with ChatGPT or other LLMs, you can start acting like a developer and getting apps deployed into production without really knowing how to code, just knowing the ins and outs of some of the frameworks.